Hello, I'm Chrissy Seaton. Have you ever experienced those nagging, suspicious sorts of doubts that creep into your mind from time to time? It's a troubling concept, or maybe a teaching or a principle that someone has put to you, and it doesn't rest very well with you, or at first you might think it sounds great, and then later on when you've had time to dissect it and think about it further, you start to get those niggling thoughts that come across your mind from time to time. And that's perfectly normal. It's good that we do get those feelings at times. It makes us stop and think twice before we act. So those troublesome nagging thoughts at times can relate to everyday things in life, many things. It may be, you may be saying, look, am I getting what I signed up for or what I paid for? Am I getting value for money when you start talking on a practical, real-life decision-making, etc. And on another end of the scale, it may be personal matters, family matters, school matters with your children. There could be many and varied things. And still you have that nagging thought. Those little triggers in your mind are the same no matter what the actual topic is that you're thinking about. And they don't go away. And sometimes it may be delicate, and it's not the sort of thing that you can perhaps discuss with people. It could be bordering on gossip, that's Lashonara. And we as Noahides have to be very careful and very conscious of that. There is a difference between being complicit by silence about things that are clearly wrong, but when you just want to roll that over and discuss something, it's not always suitable to do that for the obvious reasons. So therefore, what do? Well, you think more, you ponder more, then you doubt your thoughts, and then you get anxious about it, and so it goes on. And I'll give a little example here. A young family I know of have one of their children privately tutored after school to assist with that student's extra learning. And they had some nagging suspicions and thoughts and what have you. They didn't feel, to be honest, they were getting value for money. The child didn't seem to be improving. And eventually they had to change the tutor. And rightly so, they were paying good money to have their child tutored according to a curriculum, and the tutor didn't present the teachings that the person was supposed to. So there's an everyday example. It may even be that you decide the school your child in is perhaps not the best. You might want to change the school. And there's many more things that you would be able to think of that have occurred in your lifetime that have caused those nagging suspicions. I want to talk now more about what we do as Noahides when we have some of those suspicions or concerns about our teachings in relation to learning about being a Noahide, particularly for those who are very new, just coming into the learning pathways, or some of us that have been there for a while and we're a little, don't know about that, I'm not sure about that. And that crosses my mind from time to time, as I'm sure it does yours. You will hear different teachers say contradictory things to others, and it doesn't rest well with you, etc. Now, that is okay well, it's not okay actually that it's bothering you, but if that is information you're receiving or teachings that are costing no physical money, just your time, and although your time is valuable, you might say, oh, well, I'm going to have a break from that or what have you. I'm not going to upset myself with that at the moment. But if you have locked yourself into some sort of a subscribing to a particular teaching organisation for lessons or tutoring, etc., then that's an entirely different matter too. You then have to look at that monetary investment and think of it as an investment, because you're investing in your spiritual well-being. It's a bit different to investing in shares and bonds, etc. So let's just think about that. So if you're paying into a group or an organisation or a private tutor or teacher, and you're not getting what you envisaged your spiritual growth and learning should be, and you're paying this money regardless, but the evidence for you isn't supporting what you're investing. It's not delivering the return on your investment, if I may be so clinical as to say that. You do have to think about that and perhaps talk to the person who is teaching you and say, look, I kind of was feeling I should be along this pathway, or I should be learning this, or I don't feel I'm grasping this. So it can involve open dialogue with the person involved. However, that may not be appropriate for many reasons. So my advice to anyone when they're making any sort of a decision, doesn't matter whether they're buying a car or paying for tutoring for their children or anything like that, the weight of the evidence that you have must be what guides your ultimate decision. With great Australian wave here, fly inside again. And you have to be quite clinical about that evidence, not wishy-washy. So to simplify it a little bit more, if you are paying for some lessons or courses or whatever, and you don't feel you're getting your return, or it's not taking you down the pathway you thought, or it's conflicting with what you thought you were going to be learning, and it may well be available in book form you can read and pay once only for. There's lots of things to think about. But if that nagging thought continues and you're getting more anxious about it, then you have to stop doing it. It's not good for you. So when you've got that thought rolling around in your mind and you're paying money for it and you're not happy with it, you're not going to learn. And you probably miss some of the good teachings that come along with that. So it isn't going to be easy for some people to work through that. But suffice to say, if you have doubts, nagging thoughts that are troubling you, look at the evidence. What is the evidence telling me? Am I getting... is my monetary investment returning spiritual value for me? I'll just say that again. Is that monetary investment returning to me added and increased spiritual value? So let that sink in. Because if it isn't, you're better off ceasing your subscription or drawing away from the group or the teacher if it's that may involve that, because that's just destructive emotions that are going to come in for you, and that's not good. That's not good. Being a Noahide, being kind and keeping our mind focused on Hashem doesn't mean that we have to go down a pathway where we clearly know, truthfully in our mind, is not fulfilling our spiritual needs. Then you have to end that association or end that subscription, for want of a better word. So I want you to think clearly about those things and just take note of how I framed it in terms of looking at it like you were doing an investment. You know, I'm putting money into this, what's my return going to be? And that may seem a little clinical to some people, but sometimes you have to get a little bit clinical, even with spiritual things, and say, where am I getting this information from? How's it impacting me and mine? Am I feeling great about it when I'm finished? If you are, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with subscribing to lessons or courses. If you're getting what you think you should be getting and you're feeling good about it, then you haven't got anything to worry about. But when you're in a position where there are doubts and suspicions and then you need to draw away from it, because that's destructive pathways, really. So I also want to add that in this day and age, there are a lot of people making money out of Noahides, and I mean just that. They're taking the money, but they're not giving too much in return, and I'm sure you've all probably come across someone like that. However, having said that, there are many, many, many marvellous people and teachers and rabbis out there who give their time freely and openly for Noahides. They can be on social media groups. The YouTube channel has some brilliant teaching videos. It can be through personal contact, your local rabbi. There are thankfully more people that are doing that for Noahides than ones who are just making money out of them. And I know a lot of you know this has been going on, and I've had a handful of people speak to me about it in private. So you need, again, I harp on the fact that you need to weigh up that evidence. If you've got bad feelings about it, that whether you're paying money or your time, regardless, but particularly when you're handing over your money and you're not getting that spiritual teaching and return, then you are better off withdrawing from that and placing that money, or that you basically were making a donation, you weren't getting much in return, then you are better off donating that money that you can afford to a worthy cause of your choosing. I know this is a subject that is a little irritating for people, particularly if you're going through it, and it's a delicate situation, but unfortunately someone has to say the truth. There are people paying good hard-earned money to organisations or individuals, and they're not getting the return they should be. Your spiritual wealth and growth is not happening, and you can't allow that to continue. And as I said, there are plenty of very learned people who freely give information. On my website there's a heap, like asknoah.org. There's Rabbi Skoback has beautiful videos on all manner of topics. So please don't feel you have to get caught up in subscribing or paying money to be taught. There are other ways, and not to say there are plenty of organisations also that you can subscribe to, and you certainly get value for money, and you get some tutor interaction one-on-one, be it by Skype or whatever. So you and only you can weigh up that evidence and decide whether you're getting what you paid for, basically. I just also want to remind everyone not to forget that every Thursday at 2 p.m. in Israel, there is a live Power of Prayer lesson. Deborah Sitton and myself co-host that. There have been difficulties with the sound, but that is being rectified, and it should be up and running by the end of this week. And we also have our first Noahide conference taking place in Australia in September 9th, 10th and 11th. Go to the website for some information. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, leave a comment, click the like button, ring the bell to be notified. And most of all, please weigh up the evidence. It's a good practice to do for everything. Get very mathematical with it. Please take care, and God bless you all.